Good morning. We just need to take a look at a few things on the agenda together right now before we head back into where we left off yesterday. I want to first just talk about the agenda. We're going to wrap up lesson 3, percent proportion, today. And so we're going to continue to solve problems involving percents by using the percent proportion. We're going to check out the independent practice answers from yesterday, which was the last piece of the lesson. And then we're going to try a few more problems together. In the remaining time that you have in class, I did put Alex down again. And then also, I put Halloween coordinate graphing for face-to-face only. And that was in each crew teacher's mailbox at school. So hopefully you have it. And if you did start to look at that, just keep in mind that you need to make sure you connect the points as you go, as you start graphing those. So these coordinate graphing activities I'm going to give your crew teachers throughout the year so you have some to practice. The Halloween one itself is fairly simple and fairly easy, but it's good practice to start with. As the year goes on, I'll just give you different ones and they will have a different level of difficulty, meaning the more we do, the higher the level of the coordinate graphing there will be. So just keep that in mind. It's not a grade, and it's more for you to just make sure you are practicing before you continue to do more graphing next year in 8th grade. Okay, on the left-hand side, so there's a couple reminders there for you. First off, tomorrow, Wednesday, October 14th, you're going to have a lesson 1 and 3 quick check in Schoology. And so that will be an assignment grade. We've done quick checks before. We did those in chapter 1. This will be the first one for chapter 2, and that will consist of, like I said, lesson 1, which is percent of a number, and lesson 3, this percent proportion that we've been working on. There will be 6 problems, and it will be considered an assignment grade in Schoology. Next, underneath that, Chapter 2 Percents Part 1 test, Tuesday, October 20th. So next Tuesday. I had mentioned when we first started this chapter that it is a very big chapter. There's lots of content about percents within this chapter. And so we do split it in 2 parts. And this first part is going to consist of lessons 1, percent of a number, lesson 3, percent proportion, and lesson 5, which we're going to do in the next few days, called percent of change. And these lessons are necessary for us to then understand and apply this work to the second half of our chapter, so then we can understand how to find tips, tax, discount, sale price, final cost, and so on. So plan on that for next Tuesday, and there will be more information about that coming in the next couple of days as well. So we're going to head over back to where we were yesterday on the independent practice. So make sure right now that you have your book. You're going to be on page 125, and you have a calculator next to you. Pause the video if you need to get those items ready, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so what I'd like you to do right now is take a few minutes and look through problems 1 through 6. I know some of you got a few of these done, maybe half of them done, maybe some of you got them all done, but then there was also some that didn't quite get there, ran a little bit out of time yesterday. And I want you to make sure at this point, when you look at those 6 problems, that you have the correct answer if you did attempt some yesterday. If not, take the time right now to go through and go ahead and fill these in. So again, your teacher can pause the video, or you can pause the video and take these and get them set up in the independent practice 1 through 6 and look at how I did it and pay attention to, again, the color coding I used as far as the is and the of and the percent out of 100, and understanding each one what you're solving for. So these are the exact same steps we did in the lesson yesterday. But again, take a few minutes, take a look at those, use your calculator if you need to at least check the work I've done to make sure you're understanding those answers. And then again, once you are done taking a look at these answers and making sure they're in your book, then we'll move on. It's important that you have these in your book. Or you do remember that in your quick checks, and again, you're going to have one tomorrow, it's an assignment grade, so you get to use your book, right? So you get to go back and you get to look at example problems if you need to help you on the assignment. So please, again, make sure you're writing these examples in your textbook. So go ahead and pause the video. Look at these answers and the work. When you're done, you're going to unpause and we're going to try a couple more story problems together with percent proportion. Okay, so we're going to come down to number 7 right below and try a couple stories with the is over the of, the part over the whole, set equal to the percent over 100. So let's read this story here in number 7. You have a pair of sneakers that's on sale as shown. And so you see off to the right here, a pair of sneakers that are on sale. Sale price is $51. This is 75% of the original price. What was the original price of the shoes? So I'm going to underline the question. What was the original price? And then I'm also going to circle here. I have my percent. That sale price is 75% of the original price. So when I come over and look at this sale price, right, I need to think about if I'm going to set this problem up, I got to know what pieces I have. And sometimes in a story, it can be tough to understand. So let's break this apart. Like I said, you have the percent, right? So you know that sale price on those shoes is 75% of the original price. So 75 over 100. Now, sale price, and you're trying to find what was the original price. Think about which one is the part and which one is the whole, because you don't necessarily see the word is or the word of. So if you're trying to find the original price, this is your whole. You don't know the denominator here. You don't know the total, the whole, the original price of those shoes, the regular price of those shoes. But you do know the sale price is $51. This is your part. And so $51, the sale price on those shoes, that is 75% of the original that we don't know. So this is what we need to solve for. So let's take a look here. I think we can take, let's think about reducing this fraction. I'm just in my head trying to make sure that this is going to work. Let's try it. So think about dividing both of these by 25. So if I did 75 divided by 25, I've got 3. And then if I did 25 divided into 100, I get 4. Now remember, we're trying to see if I go from 3 to 51, am I going to be able to see how much larger by a whole number that this is getting? Nope, it's going to be a decimal. And so I'm actually going to come back here and erase. And let's just use cross multiplication in order to solve for x. So if it's not easy, if you don't see it going up, increasing, decreasing by a whole number, then let's do this process instead. So I'm going to take and cross multiply. I'm going to do 75 times 100. 75 times x, 75x. Other direction, I need to do 51 times 100, which is going to give me 5,100. Now I know if I'm going to solve, I'm going to divide by 75 here. And so x is going to equal, and this is where we're going to divide this out, 5,100 divided by 75. And you're going to get 68. So your whole, the original price of the tennis shoes is $68. So that part, that sale price, $51, out of the total you now found is 68. The regular price was $68. Final answer. Okay, let's try number 8. So of the 60 books on a bookshelf, 24 are nonfiction. What percent of the books are nonfiction? So it's asking you to find the percent. So you don't know the X in the numerator out of 100. And now let's go back and figure out once again, what's the part and what's the whole? So the whole here gives you a little bit of a hint. You see the word of, it's kind of a couple words away, but it's close, right? Of the 60, there's 60 books on the bookshelf. And out of those 60, 24 are nonfiction. So this of 60 is your whole, that's your denominator, total of 60 books on the bookshelf. And then 24 out of those 60 are nonfiction. That's your part right there. 24 out of 60 are nonfiction. We need to see what percent that is. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. 24 out of 60. That's not necessarily half of 60, but that's pretty darn close. 30 is half of 60. And if that was the case, if you had 30 out of 60 books that were nonfiction, that would mean half or 50% of the books are nonfiction. You're just under 30. You're at 24 out of 60, which means we should find our percent when we go to calculate this right now is going to be just under 50% of the books that are nonfiction. Okay. So let's see, let's try simplifying this again. So let me think. Half of 24, if I were to cut this in half, divide by 2, I would get 12. If I divide 60 in half, I get 30. I can actually still simplify a little bit more. So let's see, we could divide by 6. This would give me 2. And if I divide 30 by 6, this is going to give me 5. Okay, now I see it. Okay, I see from 5 to 100, that's going to be times 20. This is getting 20 times bigger here. So that means in the denominator, if this is getting 20 times bigger, here in the numerator, this is also going to get 20 times bigger. 2 times 20. X equals 40%. 40% of the books on the bookshelf are nonfiction. And so remember I said it's just going to be under half, under 50%. And it is. It's at about 40% nonfiction books, 24 out of 60. All right, so let's try. Let's go to the, we're going to go to the extra practice. So we're now going to turn to page 127. 127. And we're going to go to the stories first. We're going to take a look at 23 and 24 here. 23 and 24. So number 23. Roman has 2 red pencils in his backpack. If this is 25% of the total number of pencils, how many pencils are in his backpack? How many pencils are in his backpack? Now remember, he has 2 red pencils in his backpack, but those 2 red pencils are only 25% of the pencil amount that he actually has. How many pencils are in his backpack? So I want you to think about 25% out of 100%. And 2 are red out of all of the pencils that he has. So being able to identify what's the part and what's the whole, he's got 2 red, that's your part. You don't know the whole. You're not sure of the total amount. So you're missing in the denominator the of the whole amount. So 2 part of is X. We don't know the total number of pencils, but we do know that 2 of the red pencils is 25% of what he has in his backpack. Okay, so let's take a look again at, let's try reducing again. So I'm going to take this fraction, this 25 over 100, and I know 25 will divide into 25 once, and I know 25 will divide into 100 4 times. So this reduces down to 1/4, and now what I should be able to see from going from 1 to 2, I'm getting 2 times bigger in the numerator here. And so now in the denominator, if I know I'm getting 2 times larger here, I'm also getting 2 times larger in the denominator. 4 times 2, 8. There is a total of 8 pencils in his backpack, 2 being red, 2 out of 8. So check that for a minute. You could check your work and see if this makes sense. You're checking your answer to make sure it is 8 total. So in your calculator, do 2 divided by 8. 2 divided by 8. And what you should see, what comes up on your calculator is 0.25, 25 hundredths. If you multiply that by 100, there's your 25%. And so it's true. 2 of the red pencils out of the 8 total pencils in his backpack represents 25% of his total. Okay, let's try another one. Let's look at number 24. So Eileen and Michelle scored 48% of their team's points. If their team had a total of 50 points, how many points did they score? So notice I circled in blue total of 50 points because it's telling you right there the whole. They're using the word total, but that is your whole right there. So let's set this up. 48% out of 100%. Eileen and Michelle scored 48% of their team points. Their team had a total of 50 points. That's the whole. You want to know how many points the part that Eileen and Michelle scored. Remember, they scored 48% of their team's total points. The team scored 50 points. How many did Eileen and Michelle score? Okay, so we have the setup. Now let's see if we can take and simplify this. So let's see. You know what? We don't need to. Now that I look at this a little bit more closely, take a look at what's happening here. In the denominator, I can go from this left fraction to the right fraction. 50 going to 100 is getting how many times bigger? 2 times bigger. And so if this is getting 2 times bigger here, in your numerator, this is also getting 2 times bigger. Now you have to think about this. It's almost like working backwards a little bit. What number times 2 will give you 48? Because we're missing this first numerator. What number times 2 will give you 48. What number could you double and get 48? And hopefully you're saying right now, 24. 24 times 2 is 48. The girls scored 24 points. Now, again, let's make sense of this. Remember, they scored 48% of their team points. Well, isn't 25 out of 50 half? So it makes sense that they scored just under half of their team's points, just under 50%. They scored 24 out of 50. Okay, so you're going to end right now by coming back up on the extra practice. And you're going to finish this out today by working through 19, 20, 21, and 22. Those last four. And just like I said in yesterday's lesson, when you set these problems up, they are getting put in a proportion like we've been practicing. And really, that's what you should start with and make sure you have the setup of the problem ready to go. And you know 100 is going to go in every one of these in that second fraction. And then use your colors again. I did see in my crew yesterday for sure, a lot of students were changing colors and highlighting the part one color and highlighting the whole a different color. And they were underlining and understanding what they were solving for, just like what I'm doing. Okay. And then again, identifying that part and that whole. Okay. So I'm going to let you go. When you finish this, the answers will be ready for you. So you'll unpause the video and check your answers. And then as soon as your answers are checked and you're good there, then the first thing I would head into is ALEKS. I know the coordinate graphing can be fun, but ALEKS is also super important because I talked about yesterday that by Friday, we're going to give you participation points for having the pre-assessment done. And a lot of you already have it done, but there's a few that don't. So please make sure you head into ALEKS first. And then if you are able, if you spend enough time on ALEKS, you could head into a little bit of coordinate graphing. Have a great day. Okay, you should be checking your answers for 19 through 22. And then you are all set.